Hello knitters, welcome to the Wise Owl Knits podcast. I'm your host Cheryl Beckrich and I'm so happy to have you here with me today. Today I am wearing my Bulls and Braids pullover. I had to go back and look and see when I knit this and designed this, and it was in 2020. October of 2020 is when I took the pictures of it and got it out on my website and on Ravelry. It is knit in Knit Picks Swish DK. I've got these 3/4 length sleeves, which honestly you could do full length if you wanted to, but because it's in white and because I always seem to get dirty, I wanted a little bit shorter sleeves. So great pattern if you love cables. It's kind of designed in the boxy way, so you know there's plenty of ease, but then the sleeves are tighter. And if you don't like the fitted sleeves, you could knit a different size of the sleeve because they're basically just a tube that you add on at the end. It is knit in the round. Let me figure that out and I will add that information on. You know, it is so funny because I did knit this, but it's been long enough ago that I don't quite remember exactly what I did. I'm pretty sure it starts at the top and then you knit down and then join in the round. I'm almost 100% sure that it is not bottom up, but boy, that's crazy. My memory these days, not so great. Anyway, it's knit, again, like I said, in Swish DK, which is a Knit Picks yarn, and it is a super wash, so washable. Has pretty good stitch definition with the cables. You can see them well. And I think with cables, they show up better with lighter colors too. I've got a hat that uses the same stitch pattern, so it's called the Bulls and Braids hat. So if you wanted to try it in a smaller portion, you could do that. The hat, though, is denser. Things are squished together a little more, and this is a little bit drapier. So I have had some people say that the hat can be just a bit much to knit because I did want it to be tighter and not as drapey because it's a hat and I want it to keep you warm. So I just knit it at a different gauge than this, and I think that one is worsted weight yarn rather than DK, but with the same size needles. So it just is a nice, warm, thick hat, but you're constantly cabling on that hat. There's no white space on that as there is on the sweater, the pullover. So that is what I'm wearing today. I'm going to move on to a new cast on, which I'm going to cast on this weekend. Today's Friday, it's November 1st. It's All Saints Day. Forgot to say that at the beginning. It's All Saints Day. I work at a Catholic church and we have holy days of obligation off. Our office is closed those days, but I did have to go in and film Mass this morning and get that up on YouTube. And our third graders from our school dressed up in saints costumes, so that was super cute. And that's always one of those masses because a whole class participates and because they dress up, lots and lots of parents come. So it was a big, very crowded mass, which is always great. We love to have that. So with that little aside thrown in there, I'll move on to my new cast on, which is in my Happy Sheep bag. It's another wristlet that's available on my website. This is a little bit bigger version. I'll show you in comparison. This is the small one, good for socks. This one could be a sweater. So my new cast on is a sweater, and I'm gonna just give you a little peek of the yarn. It's a collaboration that I'm doing with Mystery Mouse, and this is a pattern that probably won't be out until late January, but I'm gonna get that cast on. I have knit this pattern once in some other yarn, and now I'm knitting the sample for the pictures for the front of the pattern. So I'll be having deja vu because I'm knitting the same thing that I just got done knitting, and I can see it right in front of me, but you guys can't see it. And I'm gonna keep it a secret for just a bit longer. Hopefully it'll be worth the wait for you. So that's my new cast on. I just finished a couple of things, one of which is another new design, and this is going to be a free pattern on my website. This is a shawl, and it's a triangular shawl that I'm going to show you the beginning of it. So it's cast on down here on this edge and then worked upwards and ends up being a point on the other end. It hasn't been blocked yet, though I do have my ends woven in. There weren't too many. It took 2 skeins of the main color and 1 skein of the contrasting color, and you can see here where the colors meet, there's a cable that alternates between there. It's a cable 4 front, so every 4 rows you hold 2 stitches in front and then knit 2 from the other color and then knit 2 from the cable needle. So it looks like it's just a twist. And I have not 100% sure decided on the name for this pattern, but I had just gotten an email from a friend, and one of the things that she had put in her email was the phrase pathway to peace. And I think that's what I'm going to name this shawl, is the pathway to peace. I don't have the exact dimensions of it yet because I haven't blocked it, and it is in superwash yarn, so it is going to get a little bit bigger, and I want it to get a little bit bigger. This yarn I've mentioned before, but this is what I finally decided to do with my Ravolution yarn. And so the blue color is called the Cowboy in Me, and the white is a speckled cream colored yarn, and it's called Cake by the Ocean. 100% superwash merino, DK weight, 110 grams, 286 yards each. So those are pretty generous DK weight skeins, and I use pretty much all of 2 skeins in the main color and all but about a yard of the 1 skein that I had in the contrasting color. So depending on how you knit, you might want to hedge your bets and get a little bit more, 3 skeins of one, 2 skeins of the other, knowing that you'll have a lot left over. But if you're like me, I would much rather have some left over that I can use for something else, a hat or gloves or a cowl, something later, than to run out right at the very end of a project. That is no fun at all. Nobody wants to do that. Okay, so finished that, except for blocking, and I've got to get the pattern written up. I've got it right here written up on in my little journal, but you can't follow that very well. So I've got to get that on paper and get it out to the tech editor. So watch for that coming out soon, but that will be a free pattern. I did a tutorial on the Pathway to Peace shawl of how to wrap your yarns when you're going from the main color to the contrasting color. And it's almost like Intarsia knit flat, except there's not a picture within or a shape within a color. It's just changing from one color to the next. And basically, whenever the old color and the old color and the new color come together, the first time they meet, you take the old yarn over the new yarn and then pull the new yarn around and start working with it. Then on the subsequent back and forth, like if you were on the blue, you did 2 stitches in the white and then you had to do 2 stitches in the blue. You don't have to wrap your yarn on those second switches because it's more like stranded color work at that point. So I did a video, which I'll insert now, that shows you how to do that in all the different situations. Like if you're on the front, if you're on the back, if you're doing a cable where the blue is first or a cable where the white is first. So I show all of those. I'm a English style knitter, so it's all demonstrated in English style, but it works the same way if you're a continental knitter. You're just holding your hands a little bit differently. So that's here now, and you can take a quick look. Today I am going to show you how to switch from the contrast color to the main color. This is basically Intarsia, but as you can see, when we switch from the contrast color, which is the speckled cream, to the denim-y color, which is the main color, we've got a cable in between here. So we just need to worry about wrapping the yarn or locking it in the first time the colors meet. And on this row, we'll be on the contrast color till halfway through the cable because this is not a cable row. This is the right side of the fabric, and I'm going to knit 2 and get to the cable. Then I'll knit 2 for half of the cable. Now I'm going to take the old yarn, which is the cream colored, and put it over the main color, the blue yarn. And I'm just going to hold on to that as I knit the blue. On the back, you can see right here, they are wrapped together. Now I'm going to also show you how to do that on the wrong side of the fabric. And then we'll go on to show when we've got the contrast color first. So we'll have to switch back and forth a little bit, which will basically be stranded knitting. Okay, now we are on the wrong side of the fabric and we're again approaching the point where we need to switch from one color to the other. We're in this garter stitch section, but in between the markers, we're actually working in stockinette stitch. So these will be purl stitches since we're on the wrong side. So I'll knit these last 2 in the main color, the blue. I'll bring my yarn to the front, slip my marker, purl 2, and then I will bring my blue yarn, my contrast color, over the white yarn. The blue yarn is the main color over the contrast color. And then I will purl these next 2 stitches. So that caused those 2 stitches to be wrapped together. And now we don't need to worry about the blue until we go back the other direction. Now on the next side, which will be the right side but will be a cable row, I'll show you how we do that. Okay, so we are approaching the cable section, and the white or the contrast color is going to go over the blue, the main color, and we'll have to wrap our yarns in between those. Okay, so I'm going to slip 2 stitches onto my cable needle and hold in front, and now I need to work the 2 blue stitches. I need to knit those. So there's the blue yarn. I'm going to take the white yarn up and over that, and I'm going to just hold on to it as if I were doing stranded color work, because that is essentially what I'll be doing. So we'll knit the 2 blue stitches, and because we wrapped the yarn before we started the blue, it's locked in between there. Now we'll knit the 2 contrast color stitches off the cable needle. And then we will go ahead. I have to do an increase here in this stitch, so we'll knit the blue and then can go on to the end in that. So the cable is worked, and on the back, the stitches are wrapped right here. So the first time the old color meets the new color, we put the old color on top of the new and go ahead and work the stitches, and that locks them in. The subsequent switching after that, you can just do as stranded color work. You don't have to wrap any yarns over the others on those. Okay, so lastly, we'll show you this on the wrong side, where we're going from main color to contrast color to main color to contrast color. Okay, so now we are on the wrong side of the fabric again, and we'll be switching from the contrast color, from the main color, the blue, to the contrast color, which is the cream, back to the main color, and then back to the contrast color. So I'm going to knit these 2 stitches before the marker. This section is in garter stitch, but the following section is in stockinette stitch. So I'm going to bring the yarn to the front. I'm going to put the main yarn over the contrast color yarn, and I'm going to just hold on to that. And I'm going to purl these first 2 stitches in the contrast color, and then I will purl the 2 stitches in the main color. So I only put the old yarn over the new yarn right at the very beginning of the color change. And I'm going to leave that here in the front, but I'm going to take the contrast color to the back so that I can work the rest of the stitches in garter stitch. And that is how you switch from one color to the other in a situation that is a color block situation, where you're only using one color here and the other color there. It's not truly intarsia because we're not working a picture or a shape of a contrast color within the main color, but this is just how we switch from one color to another in a color block situation. Then I've also finished my half blanket handicap blanket, so corner to corner. And on this I use Bernay yarn, and it is called Bernay Blanket Brights. And it's a chenille yarn, and the color of this blanket is red, white, and boom. They've got lots of solid colors too, so if you're not a fan of the variegated, then you can get a solid and do that. Now I just started with 3 stitches, size 11 needles, and increased 1 stitch at the beginning of each row until I got to 81 stitches. Then I did a couple of rows without increase and then started decreasing 1 stitch at the beginning of each row until I got back down to 3. So with this bulky yarn, that goes pretty quickly. This was my at-work project, and this will be donated to Birthline here in Indianapolis. So that is my corner to corner blanket inspired by the half blanket handicap that Politically Incorrect Knitters did for the babies. Really, that's all I have today. That is not very much. The last thing is just a few days before the election, and I know we'll all be happy to stop seeing all those commercials and stop hearing about it all the time. But I just want to say, if you haven't voted yet, there's probably still a chance to do some early voting. Or if you'd rather vote on election day, I totally get that. I'm really an election day person, but this year I was just a little worried that, you know, what if something happened? I really wanted to make sure that I got my vote in, so I did go and vote early last Monday, and I took my knitting, the Pathway to Peace, as I followed the path of the turnstiles back and forth for an hour and 15 minutes before I got inside the polling place to cast my vote. I just knit the whole time. It was a beautiful day out. It was warm and sunny, unseasonably warm for a late October day. And I just knit, sparked lots of conversations with other people. People asked me what I was making. Of course, they asked me if I'm knitting or crocheting. That always happens when you knit in public. And then I had a lot of people say, oh, I wish I would have brought my knitting. There was another woman out there that had her, you'd see the same people over and over again because you're going back and forth, like you're waiting for a ride at Kings Island or Disney World. But there's another lady that had her laptop out and she's holding it with one hand and typing with the other hand. And again, being productive and doing something while you're waiting. So that was my voting experience. I was, you know, I would have rather not had to spend an hour and a half doing that. But like I said, it was a beautiful day. It was nice to be outside. I talked to lots of people, and I can't say it was a bad experience at all. It was a good experience, and my vote is in, so I don't have to worry about it being cold or rainy on election day. And I would still go if it was cold or rainy, but it wouldn't have been as much fun. Thank you so much for watching today. I appreciate you guys checking in with me. If you like what you see, click the like button, subscribe, tell your friends, share it with other people. And I hope to see you back soon. Bye.